Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of our show, Divinely Human. We try to be weekly, but we're definitely not weekly at all. So we just try to gather up guests and we put them in front of the camera in this beautiful, huge Baroque or Rococo frame that I have put up that my father keeps reminding me that it looks like my grandma's mirror. And we just talk to people here. And we have here our lovely Bren, and you can find her on Twitch as Bren Nailed It. And she's a great writer. She has a great personality. She's from New Jersey, but right now she lives in Georgia. And yeah, she's
You
sweet as a
remembered.
pitch. Yeah. And we're going to hear more from her. I want to give her an opportunity also to just introduce herself. But for people that are new to the show, this is a very casual, conversational show. I don't really have plans for it. I just find people interesting and then I try to spend time with them and whatever I find interest, I just ask questions about it and then we talk about things. So if you're watching this live on the chat, let us know any questions you have, any comments, and if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments what you think in general about the topics that we discuss and show us some love. And if you like the video, like it. If you want to say something, comment on it. If you want other people to see it, share it. And if you want to see more videos, subscribe. If you put on the notifications, then you'll know when I upload again. So let's get started. You want to say something, Bren, about yourself? I don't know. This is a weird question to start on, but yeah.
Hi. I guess I could just say hello and who I
Yes. Hello
am.
is great.
Hi. I'm Brenna. A lot of people call me Bren. Honestly, I've never had so many people call me Bren
Mm.
in my entire life as I have in the last 2 years or so when I met my Catholic friends online. So that's been very interesting. Um, I am an author. I guess what helps is anywhere on social media, I kind of tag myself as the Catholic carnivore creative cheerleader. Um, it's become people have actually searched that and were like, oh, okay, I found your Instagram. I'm like, oh, cool. Stalkers. I mean, no, thanks. Very kind of you. Yeah, so Catholic, obviously I'm Catholic. I am a Catholic convert as of July 27th, 2021. So
Oh,
July
very
27th
recent.
is my
Yeah.
baptism anniversary. It'll be
Oh.
4 years, which is very exciting.
Nice.
Carnivore, I follow a carnivore way of eating. I
Wow.
eat only meats and other animal products, and I've never felt better in my entire life.
Oh, nice.
Which is fun because that's also kind of part of my story is this kind of ongoing health journey, weight loss journey,
Oh, wow.
um, and carnivore has kind of been like the linchpin of like this is like an amazing answer for me.
Okay.
Creative. I am an author. I'm a writer. I do writing streams. I learned the word Pomodoro sprint, so I'd never heard that before. But I had been doing writing streams where I set a timer.
Oh, you're doing the
We
Pomodoro
just
minute thing,
get
the 45
yeah, but I
minutes,
didn't know
7,
that's
and then all of that? Yeah.
however much time, yeah, you work and then you take a break. I did not know it was called that, and
Oh,
I've been streaming my writing since 2017. So
oh,
I
okay,
had
okay,
no idea.
nice.
I thought I was being so
Maybe
creative and
you're
so clever,
Pomodoro.
guys.
Maybe you're
I
Pomodoro.
am.
Yeah.
It's
You
true. Someone
invented
named it after me
Bitcoin.
without realizing, and I've missed a lot of paychecks. So please send it my way. You can PayPal me. Um, yeah, I write and cheerleader. The whole kind of premise of my streams have been to stop allowing excuses to stop you from doing what it is you want to do. I wanted
Nice.
to write books, so instead of you know fussing around, I would set these timers. We'd get some work done, and then we'd take a break and chat in between.
Nice.
It's just I'm sad for anyone who tells themselves, "Well, I can't do this. Like I can't do
Mm,
this." Well, yeah, of course you can't do it because you keep telling yourself you can't.
yep.
So
Yeah.
what I want to do is just encourage anyone I come across to just
Yeah.
understand, like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Stop letting baggage hold you back and just get it done, which is it's simple, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's a very simple premise. It's not always easy to do, but that does not make it any less the answer.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. And I feel like you're already
yeah.
saying so many interesting things. I mean, I definitely want to ask you about because I had actually forgotten about the carnivore thing because when I first saw your channel
Hmm.
and then I saw that in the about or whatever, it's a Catholic carnivore. I'm like, carnivore. I'm like, what do you? I mean, I've heard of that, but it's like so. The fact that you say it proudly already shows that you've definitely gotten a lot of benefits from it. So I wanted to ask, like, what is it about it and how long you've been doing and stuff. But before that, though, with this thing that you're saying, I want to address it, which is the true the fact of, yeah, it's like, I like that you, I didn't know that that was the story behind. Is that why you started streaming though? The reason was it to do the timers and stuff, or you already doing that and streaming was a separate thing?
I started streaming. So I was actually previously streaming already. Back in
Okay.
2015,
Oh
I
wow.
had another live stream that was specifically for board games and tabletop
Ah,
games. So
yes.
it was like your packaged square box board games, but not like Monopoly, not Scrabble, not like that. Like those are mass market. They're fun in their own
Those are for
right.
kids.
But I'm talking about like the golden age of board games. So we're talking about everything after like Settlers of Catan,
Ah.
Azul, Sagrada. I think I
Mm.
mentioned Sagrada to you at one point because
Mm-hmm.
I'd asked you about the Sagrada Familia. There's a board game based on it. I literally have I could turn my camera and we could
Sure.
see
I
like
mean,
my whole.
it's not
This is
against
my
the
house.
program.
Hi everybody.
Oh, look at
That's
all
my
those are all games, huh?
bookshelf. But no, those are my books. But on
Okay.
the far
Oh,
side,
I see it. I see it.
is full. Yeah, that's full of board games and
Nice.
rule books for tabletop RPGs. But I used to have both of those shelves that you see
Uh-huh.
there. Those were both full of board games previously, and then there were some still spilling over. I think we owned over 200 games.
Wow, that's
Um,
super cool.
so yes, so I guess to go back to the point, which
Oh, sure.
shocking that I'm able to do that. Uh, um, so yeah, we were streaming board games
Uh-huh.
starting in November of 2015.
Uh-huh.
We were doing that for a while, and then I discovered there were writers on Twitch, and I had no idea this was like a novel concept to me. And there was this one writer I was following, and I ended up being a mod in his channel and all this stuff. And he was doing it. And I was like, this is really cool. I want to do this.
Uh-huh.
So me in 2017 didn't realize the power of being a female on the internet. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna do this. I ended up I ended up with a like one, my friends from that channel all came
Yeah.
over and were supporting me. And then new people start coming in and it just kind of grew into this little community of like the
Nice.
Twitch writers where for a hot minute, if you were a writer on Twitch, like you knew my channel. It was wild.
Oh, wow.
Um, and there was a brief period where I was actually streaming full time on Twitch, and I
Wow, nice.
like was consistently anywhere between like oh, this sounds like a humble brag, and I'm so sorry.
No.
Um, it was like anywhere between like 75 and 100 subscribers, like
Wow.
consistently while I was streaming full time. Um,
Nice. Congrats.
but it was thank you. It was during that time that I was kind of like putting together like
Uh,
what the writing meant to me.
mm,
And that's where that kind of developed into the whole like we are here, we're a hub of creatives, and we want people to be creating. All of us are here for the same reason. Stop your excuses and let's get it done together. So that's kind of where it formed that idea of we set the sprint timers and we cheerlead. Like that's where the cheerleader element came from. To the
okay.
point where my emotes were like we ran with the bunny emotes is my thing.
Oh, very
Um
nice.
so my main emote was the win. It was, command whatever win. And it was this bunny that's like throwing confetti, like we're cheering for you, is my main emote. So
That's super
yeah.
cool. And was this in a
Yeah.
different channel than the one that you have now? And then you started new?
Mm-mm.
This in the same channel? So
Same
then,
one. It's gone through a couple of name iterations, but it's been on Bren Nailed It for a few years now.
gotcha. And what was there any transition? And what was behind the transition to what you do? Like, would you say what you do now is different to what you were doing back then? Because I mean, the way you expressed it, you were saying there was a time in which I could do this full time. Was the landscape that changed, or was it what you did that changed in the streams? You know what I'm saying? Was it just people stopped dropping by, or because people just were not? No. So what happened? Right.
So it's the streaming was never enough that I could like support myself full time.
Right.
I was living in my parents' retirement home down here. So this was after I'd moved down here to Georgia. So living in their retirement home, I didn't have a need for work necessarily unless I, really wanted to. I should as, an adult. I should
Nah.
be out
I
working.
live with my parents.
Um
Yeah, I'm chilling.
yeah, it kind of depends on the stage of your life you're in.
Yeah,
And
yeah, fair.
during that time, I guess it makes sense too. So during that time, I was dating someone, and then we were engaged, and then we got married.
Oh, okay, nice.
So doubly was like, I'm obviously going to be a stay-at-home wife. Look at me. And I probably should not have. We just, again, this money was not coming in. So
Gotcha,
the
gotcha.
reason I stopped streaming full time really was just I really needed to have a full-time job, um, which ended up proving a little tricky because it was like during COVID stuff going on.
Ah, wow. That
So
all that
like
transition
nobody
happened
was
during
hiring
COVID.
again.
Oh.
Uh, part of it.
Oh,
There's
wow.
sorry, it's bouncing between the timeline
No,
of
I'm
events,
starting to
but
kind of
a
see the timeline
portion.
because then also you said your baptism was in July 2021, right?
Hmm.
Okay, okay. Sorry, but I don't mean
Hmm.
to get ahead of myself.
So yeah, so by 2020, I was already divorced,
Hmm.
um, and needed full-time job, needed the support,
Right.
whatever. But it was also in that time I was really looking back into faith. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, not too long after that, and some other transitions in my life that I finally found Catholicism properly and got in there. But yeah, the streaming kind of became on and off at that
You
point.
couldn't
But that
just
was like the
okay.
highlight.
So that was, I guess, the
Yeah,
main change was that you couldn't spend as much time on it the moment that you needed to have a full-time job and stuff. But you continue to do
essentially.
like right now you do basically the same thing you did in the past. It's only less hours because you gotta worry about this roofing stuff, right?
Yeah, the roofing. Yay. And I'm so tired by the end of the day.
Oh, I bet that's
But
a lot.
yeah, and I haven't been consistent again recently. Just February was a wacky month with some
Uh-huh.
stuff going on, but I'm essentially using this time before I kick it back off again to just like rethink how I want to
Mm,
approach streaming, because I definitely have a different mindset about it now than
okay.
I did before. Like I said, in 2017, when I started streaming solo with my writing, I did not understand the power of being a woman on the internet. It's a very real superpower, and we can't control this power. It is
Okay.
just it is just a thing. It's very passive, and
That's
in
very-
all honesty, though, joking aside, there are definitely personality types that
Mm,
I sometimes worry about when it comes to female streamers.
oh,
Not the
okay.
women themselves per se, but just sometimes the type of audience members you might find that might pop
Mm,
in. Um,
gotcha.
and again, not to be too cancelable, but um, just there are things to be mindful of, and sometimes I'm just afraid that if I just dive back in without thinking, personalities like that will show up again, and I
Mm,
will have to confront it, because I just can't allow myself to participate and to encourage certain
mm,
behavior. But those are also a lot of the people who are like, here's 15 subs just because you're just so great. Here's another 35
mm.
subs just because you're great. I
Wow.
really just want to support you. And it's not that they don't want to support. I
Right.
just have to be prudent and understand the truth of the situation. I could be entirely wrong, or I could be very, very right. And
I
I
love
just
this
I don't want to
perspective.
encourage.
I love this perspective because I mean, not often you hear it from. I mean, yeah, it's just like, and it's not even like it looks at it from a very honest and prudent perspective. Because what we're talking about, if I'm correct, because I like to make things a little bit more explicit, is we're talking about the objectifying, right, aspect of being a woman on the internet to an extent, right, or like not knowing the ambiguity of it, right? Is that, or am I understanding
Yeah,
wrong? Because that's
it's
why I
part
like.
of that. It's part of that,
Okay.
because I think the mindset. Oh man, I did not expect a conversation on the dynamics between men and women today.
Oh
Cool.
well, me neither, to be honest.
uh, I'm going into my conversion story. So yeah, it's not just that per se, right? There is an element
Okay.
of that where there's this kind of false idea for sometimes where you see someone and you see their face and they see your username and you think that there is a deeper connection than there may
Mm,
really be. And there's a word for it. I just can't remember what the word is. Um, so that's one thing to be mindful of. The reverse is um, you know, she's she doesn't mean to not think of you as anything more than a username who gives her money. She's not trying to she's not trying to denigrate you at all either. It just
Okay.
is. It's like it's like being on a dating app where women are just like bombarded with messages, right?
Right.
And men are generally not. Um, you just can't handle that much words being thrown at you and that many faces being
Right.
thrown at you. You cannot individually, or maybe you can if you are saintly, and I am not a saint. So for all the saints out there, shout out. But I cannot personally like give each of those hundreds of
No, right.
names and whatever a whole life story, right? But you have to remember that they're people. Like those are human beings.
I mean, I just think
I think
I
it just
think what
gets
you
skewed.
I think I don't know. I think it's completely natural. I mean, I've come to when people complain about that, it's like I like not you know, but like it's a casual guy thing. It's like you know why women are so like because the women are much better at rejecting guys, and they're like much better because it's like you gotta do it much more
Oh, are
often.
we?
Yeah, not better like they're more gentle. The opposite, like they're better at doing it. Like a guy, I mean, from talking to other guys and myself, it's like it's even though it might not seem that way, or because like guys can just play a persona as well. But I've encountered it with my and even the ones that are like really good with girls or whatever. Like it's just like it's much harder on us to reject a girl because we don't gotta do it as often. Whereas a girl is much more used to
Mm.
rejecting guys. That's what I mean. Like, and sometimes that gets guys upset, I guess, because like, how did she just do it so casually? You know what I'm saying? Or how did she just do it so bluntly? But it's like the thing that I've tried, like, and I myself had to understand, and is the fact that yeah, you bombarded like at whatever level. It's just like, and it's a dynamic because it's like the guy usually initiates some type of interaction, and then even the expectation of that kind of you have to kind of play into the roles to some extent. And there's always a spectrum. It's like there's women that are more outgoing, and other ones that are also like ones that are like really just doing like being annoying or being mean for no reason. But there's also that in the guys. But what I mean that is interesting that people kind of miss all the time is that the fact that the amount of attention that a woman can get in general in life from the approach of guys. So, but what I'm trying to tie it back to, because this is a very interesting perspective I've never really heard, even though it's implicitly known, is the idea of like you yourself, right? You're like saying the power of being a woman on the internet, right? So when did you realize that? I guess that would be a good point to kind of start this tie up that I'm trying to do. Like, when did you
Um,
realize, okay, this is not like there is something about the fact that I'm a woman, and that's this provides a different experience.
so okay. So there are a number of things that I kind of learned over time, right? Just a number of things that I've just come to understand as true.
Okay.
Um, Part of my conversion story also is just a number of truths that led me to Catholicism being true.
Oh, nice.
One of them being, just I I, I learned a lot about kind of how men and women interact,
Mm,
and so it was shortly after I had initiated my divorce,
mm,
and I was still streaming. Um, and there was someone who reached out to me, someone who was very prominent on my stream.
mm.
Excuse me. And essentially told me his true feelings about me.
Okay.
Um and I unfortunately, like, I had to tell him, I'm sorry, I don't feel the same way about you. I
Right.
really appreciate all your support. And yeah, he was very upset, notably and understandably. And
Is it
I had
understand?
no
Okay,
intention
whatever.
of
Okay, so
I
I don't think that's understandable,
well,
but I mean, whatever. Yeah, but that's just
I
from a
no,
guy.
I personally I agree, but and I try to handle it gently because
Okay, and that's nice.
I know for sure that I know for sure that he was upset, and I did not intend to upset him. But
Right.
it was that moment, and just kind of things I was beginning to understand about just the way that we interact, that I was like, yeah, there are people who will do this, and like
Mm-hmm.
the thought there is I give her money and
Right.
she gives me her attention and her affection.
Yeah.
And that's not how affection works. That's not how
Right.
love works. That's not how God's love works.
Yeah.
God's love is not transactional, and
Yeah.
he is the ultimate he's the ultimate image of love. So why on earth would our love, healthy love, be transactional? It just doesn't make sense for that to be any kind of true, deep love. Um, so you just, I learned to be very mindful, and I became very, very aware and very conscious and very
Right.
scared, honestly, about how I wanted to interact and who gave me subscriptions and money, and it became like kind of an icky thing in some ways.
Yeah, I see.
I didn't love it. So even taking a break from the streaming was kind of nice in that I
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about it, but I really missed having those people around. I missed interacting with people.
Yeah.
And although I will say it did show me that um I could have been more attentive to the people who were just hanging out in the stream too. I think I took it for granted how
Mm,
many people were in the stream at any given time, because it could have been between 20 and 30,
mm,
with a bunch of lurkers. And I just, back then, I did not take the time to really know who these people are, get to know them as people.
okay.
And that's something that when I've begun streaming again recently, I've been very active. I've actively sought to get to know everyone who comes into the stream, because
Wow.
it's more important to me to build those relationships
I mean, this is
with
amazing. I mean,
fellow
already,
creative.
I mean, this is mind blowing in so many ways. I mean, to me, the fact that what you're coming to is what many women usually come to. I mean, I've talked to women. I mean, obviously, like I'm just trying to say, like I've heard this perspective before of like, oh, no, as women, we have a power that men don't have. This power of like we attract attention, and with that attention and people that come with it, it comes like a an implication, even like guys, especially I've seen it more in America because there's more a tie of money to everything basically. So things are much more transactional in general. But whatever the case, like that gives you a leeway. Like what you're in a streaming, right? You could be you could make this subscription from people, and when you come to that realization, you could have taken the road that many women usually take. And I'm not trying to generalize it, but that is the truth, because it's the easier road, which is to say, well, that's not on me. You know what I'm saying? And it really isn't. Like I don't. That's why I'm like I don't understand the guy getting upset. I also understand why he got upset. But it's kind of like the upset is kind of like, well, you accepted the money. Kind of like you let it happen. You know what I'm saying? Or like, oh, I invited you to have a drink or I invite you to dinner. And you're not saying no. Therefore, you should know the implication of me inviting you to dinner or buying you a drink. But that's like, I don't think that's fair. But when, oh, no. But when, sorry, I'm being too loud. So, when something like that happens, I feel like it's like when somebody actually from your perspective who doesn't have to care about something like that decides to care. It's beautiful because you don't have anything to benefit from the idea of caring whether somebody assumes that by giving you money you have to, because you could just reject them like you did, and then if they want to get upset they don't have the right to get upset. But you are deciding to care about the implication that it has, which yeah, I don't know, it just seems so freely given that I'm trying to understand where that comes. Was that natural from the beginning? Was it because you had you rejected that guy or whatever, and that made you feel bad? Was that automatically something, or did you have to fight any type of urge to be like, well, why should I care? You know what I'm saying? Because maybe that's me, that I'm too selfish. That if I was in your position, I'd be like probably like, why should I care? You know what I'm saying? But I don't know.
That's another difference between men and women.
Yeah.
No, it's no. I was always. I think it's always just sitting in the back of your mind that something like that might maybe happen. And I think when I saw the message pop up, I kind of like knew already like what was about to happen. But no, it's not. Yeah, at no point was I ever like, oh well, kind of sucks to be you. It was just like, how do I not say that?
Oh, okay.
Because want I don't
But
want anybody
but how
upset.
did you?
I hate that we're in the position at all.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I'm like, it's not that the stand up is like, oh, I don't care. It's kind of like how can you control it? Like the moment you start streaming, right? And now
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. Like how did you control people just coming in and giving you money?
You
Because
can't.
right,
You can't. And that's
right,
why I'm not upset when if a man or a woman decides they want to hop on, turn a camera on and start streaming. I'm not upset. Like you do you. That's a choice. I think it's worthwhile to note the type of world we live in and the consequences, whether they are passive or active. But it should, like, you do not control how other people feel. You do not control what other people do. They are
Right.
their own human beings. And you are not causing scandal by existing.
Right, right,
Like,
right, right.
please remember that you are not causing scandal simply by existing.
Yeah. Right, but that's, I guess, so then in the case of another, yeah, like I guess it's like you're in a position you're always gonna have to handle people like that, right? That are just gonna now come in, give you 30 subs, and then give you another.
Well, I don't want to I don't want to start giving myself that much credit.
I mean, why not? I mean, I don't see, I
But
don't,
I get it.
but it could happen. Like what I'm saying is like, there's a high probability that it happens to, as you were saying, to a woman than to a guy. So it's like but you cannot
Fair.
really
Yeah.
control that. I guess what I'm trying to understand is
No.
what is the approach that you take to something like that then to like to make clear. I mean, just to not be seeking it. Obviously, that's first step. Like there are girls that like actively would seek that type of attention and to get the subs. But beyond that, I mean, I guess it's yeah. Whenever they reach out to just or is that what you mean with getting to know your audience a little bit more? Because you're not taking for granted who they are and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely connected. That's definitely connected. Is just having that human element. There there really isn't, again, anything you can do about what people are going to choose to do, of course.
Mm.
Um but yeah, my approach really has become um like, I know what I've come here to do, which is to create stories, create worlds. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to present myself. In fact, when I was going to
Right,
start
right, right.
streaming again, I wasn't going to use a webcam at all. I
Mm.
was just going to use like some kind of, not a VTube rig. It was going to be some kind of just like avatar, a picture or whatever. And I realized there really isn't much of a difference. Like, people will find a way to become obsessed over whatever. It could just be the sound of my voice, and they're just like, "Oh,
Right.
she must be beautiful. Take it." Like, whatever. I can't help that. But yeah, I come in with a purpose. I know what my purpose is, and we go from there. So that's all I can
Yeah,
really
I
do.
think that's the best
Um,
approach to just. I mean, and
yeah.
yeah, and at the end of the day, and again, the fact that you have a perspective like yours already. Oh, nice. I still don't understand what a hype train is, but thank you.
Thank
20? Wait,
you.
wait, 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 wait. Did you
What?
say? Oh, wow. Thank you. Well, now I'm starting to feel how Bren
So,
felt. I'm about to not stream with a webcam. I'm feeling objectified.
hold on now. Hold on now.
Wait, it was Bren that was here. I gotta
You've
remember.
objectified you've objectified Cordero. How dare you? You don't even know his name, do you, Cordero?
Oh well, thank you very much, Chizo. It's very kind of you. But all right. So let's switch conversation a little bit because I want to explore the idea of you. Well, you said rediscover Catholicism. I said that no, or I don't know exactly how you said it. But were you born? Oh, sorry. Were you brought up Catholic as a kid or
Mm-mm.
no? Right.
No, no,
So
no. So I'm a convert. I am actually as opposite, well, according to who I used to be,
thank you,
as
man.
opposite of a Christian as you could be. So my family, we
Thank you,
grew up
Squirrel.
Jewish.
Okay.
Oh, thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Oh, more stuff.
Oh, okay.
How does it feel to be a girl
I'm
streamer?
flashing. I'm flashing here. I'm about to shave my beard for you guys.
Oh no. For 200 subs.
If you guys want, but only if you sub. Yeah, no.
Now you just have to
Anyway.
pull the uwu
Oh
on
yeah,
them.
yeah. There we go. Uh,
Guys, if we
okay.
can get Cordero to do uwu before
No,
the end of
I
the
already did it
stream.
for free. I'm not gonna do it again. Okay, keep going.
So yeah, so my family, we actually grew up Jewish. So
Okay.
my brother, I have two older brothers. And my mom converted to Judaism well
Okay.
before I was born. So we were Jewish. My dad was never religious. So it was really on my mom to kind of maintain everything in the home as
Okay.
far as it being religious. So by the time I was a teenager, my mom had kind of fallen away, and I wasn't like, I just kind of did what other people did. That was kind of who I was as a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't have the most self-confidence as a kid
Gotcha.
because
Same. I mean, pretty much.
yeah. Well, yeah, part of my story too, I suppose, is also just that when I was little, I was also at my heaviest weight when I was
Okay.
little. So at 13, I was at the highest weight I have ever been in my entire life.
Ooh.
Uh, yeah, so imagine like 5 foot nothing girl, roly poly, 13 years old, and I was 209 pounds
Wow, I mean, trying to
as a
translate, but that's
13-year-old kid.
wow.
Uh,
Okay, yeah, that's yeah.
did you
Okay,
convert it?
I'm trying to remember. That's heavier than I am now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a very big kid. So not a ton of self-confidence,
Yeah, I see.
and then I also just did not have that firm backing
Yeah.
and faith because it just wasn't really deeply ingrained in our household. So then I went from a private school to a public school, so
Got it.
that completely shatters the illusion of self-confidence when you're nothing, like going into a public school and into high school no less. And long story short, the thing I realized I was really missing, and I said it over and over, is I just kept saying, I miss the community of Judaism.
Mm,
I miss all my friends. I miss the community. It's very close knit in Judaism.
got it.
So I just, we just didn't go back to the faith. Um, in that time, I was also kind of, I was on my weight loss journey already. I was losing weight over time. Um, Still funny is that I don't fit my prom dress anymore. Um, Most people it's because it's too small,
No,
but for
I
me
was
it's
about to
too
say.
big.
Okay, okay, okay. Because I'm like, you
My
clearly
prom dress
not
is too big,
200
so I don't
pounds
fit it.
anymore. Okay, okay, okay.
Um, so it was actually in college, at the tail end of college, that I discovered the paleo diet. And that kind of started my weight loss, right? So that was one of those truths I discovered, was that the standard American diet was garbage and we've been lied to all these years, and this is a real diet, right? So that was a truth I discovered.
Hmm.
Um, so that was that first thread I found. I was like, I can hold on to this. This is real.
So that's when you actually
Um,
became carnivore, or did it take a little bit longer for you to do the full?
No, I was paleo, and
Oh,
over time I was paleo for a few years. I was already dating my boyfriend at the time, who
right.
later became my
Yeah.
husband. And he, God bless him, he didn't not support me as far as how I ate, but also I was very easily swayed to just like, oh, it's a late night, we're just gonna order pizza. Oh, it's a late night, we're just gonna grab some pasta or whatever. I know he likes pasta. He was Italian. He
Hmm.
likes pasta. So, I've cooked pasta for him, whatever. So it kind of like,
Yeah.
evened out, and I didn't really lose any more weight, or like I
Got it,
wasn't
got
as
it, got it.
healthy as I actually probably gained more weight back, but whatever. Um and then there's also, this is me in my 20s, like figuring out who the heck I am as an individual, blah blah blah. Um Met people, lost people, met more people, lost more people.
Hmm.
So it was towards the tail end of my marriage when I was starting to discover this other truth that I could just tangibly hold on to,
Hmm.
which was, um, again, that interaction between men and women and what relationships really look like. And again, we're sitting here like, I've been lied to all these years. I'm supposed to meet the man of my dreams. He's supposed to be the sweetest man and do everything I ever wanted, and then I'm going to be the happiest girl in the world. And like, welp, that's down the toilet too, because it's just not true. We've been
Hmm.
fed these very silly fairy tales. And that's not to knock romance, right?
Right,
Romance
right.
is still real, and that
Yeah.
can be shown by a man, it can be shown by a woman. But like the way movies portray it has
Yeah.
just been like
Like the star-crossed
absurd.
lover thing, yeah.
Yeah, and like the dumb goofy guy gets the really hot girl with no effort
Yeah, that's because
whatsoever.
the
Like, come
writers
on.
are dumb, goofy guys. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, we call that an Apatow world. Named after Judd Apatow.
Oh, he's a dumb, goofy
So
guy. Yeah.
uh
Anyway, keep going. Yeah.
but anyway, so that was another, in all seriousness, right, that was another truth that I discovered, was like, there is a real there is real love, and what I
Mm,
had was not it.
mm,
So I'm, again, another truth I can just hold on to. um so it was around this time too, I'm starting to look back into my faith. I was talking to my brother a lot. He was looking
mm, yeah.
back into Judaism at the time too, and we talked about it. He's very philosophical, very academic.
Nice.
And I'm very like emotional and just like, oh, we're
That's a
vibing
great
here.
balance. Yeah.
It works really well between the two of us. And
Nice.
you know, I feel like I just found my way first, probably because I'm very used to impulsively like
Mm.
diving into things. Um, so as I'm it was funny too because as we're talking more, he's reading Lewis and Chesterton. He's reading. He definitely reread Lord of the Rings. He's reading Tolkien. He's reading Thomas Aquinas. He's
Right, all the
reading all these
Catholics. And he's
doctors
doing
of the
this.
church.
He's doing this as he's exploring Catholicism, or just as a kind of a parallel thing.
He was exploring faith again. He was just
Okay.
exploring Catholicism because he knew, and this was still like 4 years ago plus, right? He knew that if if it was Christianity that was the answer, it was not Protestantism, it was going to be Catholicism.
But why
He
even
already knew
explore?
that.
Why even explore the idea? Well, I guess I can talk to him about all this. I don't mean for you to
Yeah, he'll have his
speak
answer
in
as to why
the
he was
by your
looking
mouth.
into it.
So then, were you
Yeah,
looking
I know
into
why I
it?
was looking into
Okay,
it.
why were you looking
Yeah.
into it? Yeah, exactly.
I was looking into it because again, I was missing the community element, especially after like 2019
Mm,
and everything kind of blew up in my face and I
yeah.
felt very alone.
Mm,
I felt like because I initiated things, so like I felt like all eyes were on me as like I'm this terrible person, and I take no pride in what I did either, you know.
mm,
Um, but it was just a very like lonely situation, and
right.
it just gets you thinking about like what was so nice about that time back then, and I really miss that. It was that community. It's the community, right?
Mm,
But really, it was like there's a God-shaped hole in my heart that's absolutely missing. Um, so yeah, I just I couldn't deny that there was like something definitely bigger that I was missing. So we were talking, we're looking into, he's reading things, we're going on walks, he's talking, and I'm just sponge absorbing it all. Um, and in that time too, I was also dating again. So what was really funny was that every time I have two exes, two boyfriends that I went through in that time period. And every time I was dating a guy, um, despite that every time I dated, he was a non-practicing Catholic. I've only ever dated non-practicing
practicing Catholics.
Catholics.
Okay.
Wild. God is really funny, guys. Don't tell me God does not have a sense of humor. He does. Um, so every time I was dating someone, I actually felt further away from faith. I felt like, oh, I've got what I want. I don't need that. I don't it'll come back around, whatever. I'm not thinking about it.
Thank you,
Every
man.
time we broke up,
Mhm.
I realized like I was drawn so far away, I want to come back. Um and it was after the second guy that I was like, no, this is definitely where I want to be. And I converted that summer. Um yeah,
Hmm.
I realized like God, this is the ultimate truth, right? And all these other things make sense in truth, right? Like God asks us to be perfect as our Father in heaven is perfect. Obviously, we cannot be perfect here on earth, but we can strive for it, right? And I want to strive to perfect my health, right? And carnivore. It was 2019 too that
Mhm.
I dipped my toes into the carnivore diet because again, my brother did it first, and I was like, "Oh, this is clearly working for you. Let's give it a shot." Um, it was certainly better than the minor eating disorder that my previous ex was like inflicting on me because he
All
had
those
his own
carbs.
issues. But
Yeah.
um, you know, but so I gave that a try too, and I realized how great I felt, and I was moving, I was going outside more.
Mm,
Like this felt so good, it felt so real. Um, understanding relationships. It's tough, it's hard. So is saying no to pasta, right? But it's real. And are you going to try and convince yourself like, oh, it's not real because it's hard? No,
mm,
it's real and it's hard. So you either going to ignore the truth or you're going to strive for it. So I had that too. And then when it came to faith, right? I'll never forget. It was one of the final kind of nails in the coffin there to get
mm.
memento mori on you was I was reading The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis,
Ah,
which
yes.
is a fun little fiction novel where all these people are getting on this bus and they're being driven off to this place and they can't stand. Some people are too scared to get off the bus in general, and the ones who do get off the bus realize it's really hard to be there, and every person has a different personality. And I could relate to all of these whiny personalities. I'm like, this is me. All of these people are me, and that's why they can't handle being in this place, because they are so caught up in their own mortality and their own who they are,
Yeah, what they
that
want.
they can't experience something bigger and better. They won't let themselves. Um, and reading that, I don't know, it was just perfect timing that it just struck me so hard. And I'm like, I am these people, and I am a problem, and I need to fix this. Um, I read Mere Christianity, and I was like, yeah, yeah, something is definitely here.
Wow.
Um, but the ultimate the ultimate moment, my absolute, I suppose, quote unquote rock bottom, right? When God picks you up and you are like in the dirt and the muck. I was I shouldn't say this on the internet. It's too late. I already started the story. Um I was in a literal roach motel. Like
Okay.
literally roaches crawling by the bed and in the bathroom. And I
Why,
was
if I may ask?
I was there because some little part of me thought that my ex-boyfriend was going to also drive out there to meet me.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And I would get to spend time with him.
Got it.
And I don't know what I was thinking, but
I
I
have done
was
stupid things
clearly,
too.
yeah, we've all done something really stupid, and that was probably the stupidest
Yeah.
thing that I have done.
Got it.
And I was in the room, and I'm sitting there, I'm listening to a Pints with Aquinas episode.
At
Um,
the Roach
I'm
Motel,
listening to
waiting for your ex.
at the Roach
Yes.
Motel. I'm listening to Pints with Aquinas. He's talking to Seamus from Freedom Tunes. If you're familiar with Freedom Tunes,
No.
um, oh, you'd love it. You would
Okay.
love it. Being a fellow like
Anarcho-capitalist?
libertarian
Yes.
anarchist, like you would love it.
Oh,
He's
nice.
just very right leaning, but he used to be a libertarian. Blah blah blah. Their story. That's his story, but they were talking, and something about what he said, I was like, oh
Freedom
my
tunes.
gosh,
Nice.
I need to be
Squirrel here
Catholic.
knows it. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, Freedom Tunes is great.
Okay, I'll
They're
check
very
it
funny
out.
comics. They're cartoons. Um, but yeah, something about the way he was talking about his life and his faith and how God brought him, just everything he wanted and needed, right? More what he needed than just what he wanted. Um, it just struck me. I'm like, what am I complaining about? What do I have to
Mm,
complain about?
right, yeah.
Like God has brought me to this point. He has literally saved my life
Mm,
in more ways than I even know. I have done
mm,
some stupid things and put myself in really stupid situations.
mm,
And he was like, "No, I'm not going to let you die in some seedy city or roach motel. You're
mm.
coming home." And here I am, almost 4 years later.
Wow. I mean, I can definitely relate a lot to what you're saying because I keep trying to, because I don't do it, but I try to remind myself of that. It's like, what am I complaining about? Like, there's so much to be
hmm
grateful for. My priest likes to remind that to me when I go to confession. I tell him, like, I realize once again that I shouldn't be complaining so much and shouldn't be sad so much. And he's like, yeah, it's like we're such spoiled children. Because if you think about it, the amount of things that we have, and it's like in any circumstance, really, like there's not a human being on earth that is not blessed in some way. And we always continue to focus on that. I mean, and the more we have, actually, it's almost like the more we focus on what we don't have. And I really like this thing that I read in some Dickens book. And I think it was just, I don't know if it's like in general, it's like a thing that was how English was used in the time. But the idea of having wants, like the way this lady was expressing in this book and Dickens, I think it was, which one was it? The Pickwick, maybe, or the other one. I don't know, one of them. But this lady is talking about wants as a disease kind of thing. But she's saying it's natural, so I don't know if it's the way. So kind of I think having wants is a thing of a lower class person. In the sense of like she was expressing from a different perspective. I didn't agree with her perspective. But the idea of thinking of wanting something as a lack. Because when you want things, because you don't have them. So when you are actually free, when you are like in her perspective of a higher class or whatever, but it's the idea of not having wants is a good thing. Like we tend to live in a society, especially in America, where I experience it more, but in general in the world, it's like you should want things. It's like if you don't want things, you're dead. Like you should have ambitions and drives and stuff. But no, really what makes you free and happy is to have no wants. Now you can approach it different and be like, well, I have to fulfill my wants to get rid of them. Or you can be like, well, what if I just get rid of the wants and that way I'm fulfilled. But yeah, it's like I think that's very beautiful. But I still want to hone in a little bit more on the idea because I mean this intrigues me in general because I'm even I guess is the way Ka Max was saying it the other day. I've never heard it like this, but I guess I would consider myself a revert in the sense like I converted back to Catholicism, but I was brought up Catholic.
Mhm.
So when I've moved away from the faith, right, like you did from Judaism, and then I come back, to me, it seems natural. Okay, I come back to what I know. What I find
Mhm.
intriguing is when people search for the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was asking
Yeah.
you, like, what started you to look into Catholicism, you and your brother? Because why not just, you were saying you missing the
Yeah.
community aspect of Judaism. So why not just go back to Judaism?
Yeah. I did try.
Ah, okay, okay.
And both of my brothers actually could tell you that I tried because I full on went and like bought new pots and pans so I could start separating meat and milk again, meat and dairy again, to make sure they weren't trafe. I was like looking for kosher food. I was looking
Ah,
for
got
a
it.
synagogue to return to. And what I realized was that I didn't either I didn't feel welcome or I didn't
Ah,
let myself feel welcome.
okay.
I just felt like I didn't have a way to kind of open the door again and feel like I was being brought in, like welcomed home.
Ah,
And that's what I wanted to feel was to feel like I was being welcomed back. I wanted someone to be there with me to help
right.
me find God again and find my
Wow.
Jewish roots again.
Yeah.
And I was I was too afraid to go about it by myself. And there was one person I had asked, essentially, like I brought up that I was looking into my faith again, into Judaism again. And the response I got was really surprising to me, actually. Um, the response was like, cool, you do you, versus
Right.
like,
Like no
that's fantastic.
encouragement.
Like, let me
Yeah.
help you. And I realized that's what I wanted to hear.
Mm.
Um, without telling that person that that's what I wanted to hear. It is still what I wanted. So I just never quite felt like I was welcomed. And that in and of itself is not an answer, right? If Judaism was the answer and I just didn't feel welcome, that's not on anyone else. That'd be on
Right.
me. But I don't think Judaism is the answer. I think that Judaism has been fulfilled through Christ and
Right. Right. I mean, we
Catholicism,
are
which
Jews.
makes
You
it even better because I'm like,
know.
oh, I win
You
either
never
way. I
stopped.
made it home
Exactly.
regardless. Yay, go me. But one of the beauties of Catholicism is how much they want you, how
Yeah,
much we
that's so
want
true.
you home. It's like open arms wide. Like
Mm,
I know that there's standard now in Catholicism for conversion is
mm.
RCIA, the rites of initiation. I forgot what it stands for. Um,
Oh, CIA? Yeah, I
and
don't know.
yeah, I forget exactly what it stands for,
Right
but
of
I didn't
Christian
go through
initiation.
RCIA.
Yeah.
I went through my church's. It was called the inquiry class.
Okay.
So I still spent about a year. We went through the
Catechism and stuff.
catechism. We were learning what the tenets of the faith are. Um, but it was my choice. When I was ready, I got to say, yes, I want to be Catholic now. Yes, I
Mm.
am ready. Versus going through like a whole class. And the beauty too is that I get to watch someone else go through the same process, but like, bam, speed run. Like went from I'm ready to be Catholic, and 2 weeks later, hey, I'm about to be Catholic. Like I get to watch that happen right
Uh,
now, and it's super duper cool. Also, Squirrel was asking, and I can't tell if it's honest or kind of semi sarcastic. Of
so
you
you
felt
felt
welcomed in
welcome to
Catholicism?
Catholicism? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, my priest, the first priest that I spoke to, he literally was saying, "Hey, Brenna, listen. So I know you come from a Jewish background, and I just want you to know that You can, and there has been anti-Semitism in the church, and I just want you to be prepared. And I was like, Father, what are you talking about?
But
Jews,
he said that.
in my experience, before I seriously get you canceled, I'm so sorry.
No, no.
Jews have been like straight up. We literally called you guys Xtions because we didn't want you saying Christ.
I mean,
Like
but he is
they're
right too.
like
You're a priest. Like he is right.
yeah, but like they're straight up like anti-Christian.
Right, right,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
talk about like don't
Talk
talk
about
about
Jesus.
anti-Semitism.
So,
Like we're literally like you guys deserve to have that guy killed. And did you know Jesus was a Jew? I'm like, yes, yes, we know. Fulfilled. But yeah, I was very
yeah,
surprised to hear him say that and as
yeah.
like a warning because I was like, I have never heard of that before. That is news to me.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was a serious question. It was a serious. I felt a bit of
Oh,
an outsider. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
understood.
You'll see. It's
Yeah,
like
I
you just try to find out more. If you feel like something like what Mel, this curiosity, just try to find out more. I mean, again, it's like that's why when people tell
mm,
me it's like I don't even feel like I need to convince anybody. It's like it's more like well, Brent says like I need to welcome them if they're willing, if they want to, because I
yeah.
yeah, it's. I mean, again,
Be kind, be gracious,
yeah.
be charitable.
Yeah. But it's like it's
Absolutely.
the
Like
truth
that's
of it. It's the truth. It's like I'm confident that if you
yeah.
look into it, you will find it to be the truth because it is the
Yeah.
truth, you know what I'm saying? So
And
yeah.
I'm stubborn. Like I am super stubborn, which I get from my dad, who is a he's a staunch so-called atheist. I don't
Gotcha.
know. I have questions, Daddy. But you know, he's a staunch atheist, and so I get my stubbornness from him. And I could not deny that what was beautiful was that, and this was like one of those final like threads of truth that I discovered, right?
Uh-huh.
We're talking about you know, things like modesty and chastity in the church. The church is so lovingly proud to discuss these things and the
Hmm.
virtue of women, right? Proverbs 31 is so inspiring. Like if anyone thinks that the church hates women, please read Proverbs 31. It is nothing but a love letter
Hmm.
about how beautiful and how virtuous women are and how we are meant to be and to be loved and to be cherished and the things that we are meant to do
Hmm.
as women. We have these really powerful roles in our families and in the church.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a priest to have
Yeah,
a
yeah. I
powerful
had
role
that
in
whole
the
thing of
church,
wanting to be a priest.
but yeah, and knowing that and realizing how I had previously been living my life and the ways that I was just not acknowledging like my own femininity, it was one of those like I had to acknowledge this is true and it
Yeah.
feels better than what that felt like. And that
Hmm.
has to mean something. How
Right.
much better it feels to just appreciate my womanhood in the church.
Yeah,
You
within a
otherwise, oh, it's
framework
so
of
crude and
virtue. Yeah,
strict.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're so much freer to be this beautiful woman in the church than you are free to be a beautiful woman in the secular
Yeah,
world.
that's why it's
It's
also
honestly true.
it's dangerous when like Puritanism and things like that too. Like you can
Mhm.
shift the whole like perspective of Christianity on its head and make it a rules based thing that ends up just like oppressing people and not allowing them. And that's the whole thing of Catholicism. And why it's beautiful. It's the truth, and precisely because it's the truth, the living within that truth makes you freer. Like what you're saying, it makes you feel your womanhood or your manhood, or or your working or your singlehood or your priesthood or your
Yes.
fatherhood, motherhood, all of it in a much
Yes.
fuller way, which is like that should
Yes.
show you that if it's not like that, what you're saying, that has to count for something. Because if it's like, oh, this is the truth, but I feel like shit doing, it's like there's something there that doesn't click. But I also want to address
Yes.
Squirrel here because he's saying he's a practicing Catholic. Well, yeah, from my perspective, I can tell you that. I mean, I was practicing Catholic too, and it's like you have to realize. I mean, I don't know exactly because it will be hard to kind of dissect where your idea of feeling distant or an outsider of the church is. But at the end of the day, it's like at least when I felt that way, it was because of people in the church. Like you can feel an outsider to a group of Catholics, but the church itself, like Catholicism, what it is, it's just so diverse and so universal in the sense of Catholic that you just really need to find your way in it. And I mean, and obviously, just you just gotta. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm saying it's like there is definitely a way for you in the Catholic Church. If you just look at the life of the saints in general, they're so varied, they're so diverse, and they show you how you can have. I mean, that Catholicism, like we're saying here, pulls out of you the best. Like it pulls out of you the beauty. all within the virtue of being in truth in God. It's just like sometimes the problem is that there's a lot of people, as in every community, that they push and they create boundaries and they create difficulties for other people because they think it's some type of social club or something like that. And that happens a lot, like in
I
everything.
have,
It happens.
yeah.
But oh yeah, please go ahead.
I have the same struggle that that you're talking about, Squirrel, or maybe it's similar. I won't say it's exactly the same. So for a number of reasons, I still kind of feel like an outsider in the
Mm,
church. I still feel very welcome. I don't think anybody's actively pushing me out or
right.
anything. But for a number of reasons. One, I'm a late convert, right? So I'm 34. My birthday is in 5 months from yesterday. From the day of viewing of recording. So I'm 34. I'm single, right? So for like a number of reasons, right? Like
Mm,
you kind of feel outside, right?
yeah.
Because there's a beautiful guild or confraternity at my church called the Confraternity of Christian Mothers. And
Oh.
3 times on 3 separate occasions, I've been approached by people at my church who said, "Hey, you should join us. You should join us. It's the third Saturday." I'm like, "Cool, I'll think about it. Cool, I'll think about it." And the last one, she convinced me. She's like, "It is not just for mothers. It is for all women 18 and older who are in the church." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go." The entire hour and a half was talking about mom issues,
Mothers.
everything to do with moms and babies and moms and babies. And I was like, I love you guys so much. I am absolutely praying for you. This is not my jam. I am going to give it another try. It's been a couple months. And I do want to try
Oh
again.
boy,
But
that's
so
so
that
funny.
like I kind of don't
Yeah, the
feel like there
fitting.
is a
Yeah.
place for,
Mm,
a woman who is a little bit older and isn't married with 15
mm.
kids. Like I'm kind of an oddball in this scenario, and that's okay, right? I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
where I
yeah.
need to
I see what
be,
you mean.
and I am perfectly content. And it took a minute to get here, right? The single
Yeah,
life for someone who
yeah,
seeks the vocation of marriage is not easy, but
yeah.
you do, in fact, need to appreciate every season of your life.
Yeah.
Um, the other issue, too, is that because I'm at like the tail end of what they call the young adults group as well. So I also was
Yeah.
participating in our young adults group at the church. I even, for half a second, I was kind of leading it a little bit, but that became too much and I had to step back. Um,
Mm,
but still, I would go in there and everyone was perfectly nice, perfectly cool. I just didn't
mm.
click really
Yeah.
with most of them because, again, we all love our faith. They're all super cool, they're all super great. But we're just at different stages of our
Yeah.
lives. We're interested in different things beyond
Yeah.
our faith. And the faith is a lot. It's a lot to keep people together, but it's not everything. So if I'm looking for a community, I'm looking for people who kind of understand where I am,
Yeah.
and I just wasn't finding that with this group.
Mm.
It's one of the reasons I love converts and I love reverts. Like you guys are my favorite people because
Same,
I just
actually, to be
feel
honest.
like you guys understand what
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
to kind
yeah.
of have been run through the
Yeah,
muck and
come through a
mire, to be
mess.
dragged
Yeah.
through the dirt.
Yes,
Yeah, you
yes.
went through the mess just like I
Yeah,
did
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
found God and found prude Christianity on the other side. Like I don't know how we did it, but go us. Um so it's just I
Wow.
feel
Yeah.
understood by converts
Yeah,
and
yeah,
by
same. I mean,
reverts.
what you're saying
Um,
already, I can relate so much to from my own perspective. Like the idea of being a single person that comes from a split relationship at an age of like, I mean, I'm 29, but it's also like, yeah, like Luan is getting into 30s. It's like, I don't really feel like fitting with the younger ones. Not that I mean, I
mhm.
fit with everybody. Like, again, it's like what you're saying. But it's
Yeah.
like, for example, the mass I go to is a bunch of old people at this church, right? And even and it's like, and I'm not saying I gravitate towards the people. I just like the church. I like the service. I like the priest that gives that mass. And it's just the ones that I've gone to all the time. But what I'm trying to say is like even the priest there, when I talk to him, is like, why don't you join the younger community and stuff? I've been to the mass that these younger kids do, and it's like it's full and all, and they're singing, but their songs are just so. I mean, and I'm not. I'm just saying, it just all feels so like they're all like early 20s and stuff. It's like I don't have an issue with it. Just I don't know. I like the other
It's
stuff, but I
different.
also feel like I don't want to hang out just with a bunch of grandmas and stuff. But it's like, yeah, it's like kind of like
Yeah.
this. I don't have the group of mothers or whatever like that, but what I mean is that I do feel that in between in which you're not the young adult group or whatever the young, but you're also not because you're supposed to be let's say whatever or whatever. People in general are more in those stages of like they're already married, especially in the Catholic
Mhm.
circle, because the ones that are my age that do the things that I like, none of them are Catholic. Like all my friends from here, also because I was outside, and then I wasn't a convert until I was in the United States, and like it's like so it's this not fitting thing, but like feeling like an outsider. But again, in the same way that you feel, I feel very welcome by everybody, and the faith itself is welcoming. So that's I think the key that you
Absolutely.
gotta draw from the idea of the Catholic Church. It's like it's what it provides as a whole. It's not a social club. It's like there are people and it's a society in general, but what it provides to you is a relationship with Christ in truth. And the rites, the celebrations, the liturgical calendar, all these things are there to help you have a relationship with Christ that is present in everybody by virtue of communion. So it's that. It's like you talk to other Catholics and stuff, and that community is because you're talking to Christ in some other person. So I think that's what builds the unity itself, and actually what keeps it together. Because if not, we will all split. Because we are so different. Like I have people in my church that think completely different than me. I have people like of different age groups and stuff, and what unites us is Christ. So that's what I would say. Try to
Hmm.
find in the church if you feel attracted to that. Which if you don't, then you eventually will, because baptism has a way of dragging you back. But
You will.
yeah,
That's both a promise and a threat.
yeah. But yeah, no, and
Yeah,
exactly,
and I think you
rivers
said
and
it earlier.
converts. Uh-huh.
I can't remember now if you said it earlier on the like once we started or if this was in our chat or before, but we were talking about you mentioned just briefly that like the church is very diverse.
Yeah,
It's like
100%. Through its
somewhere
history as
like
well. Yeah.
somewhere there are your people.
Hmm.
I was talking to someone recently who mentioned, and I didn't know this, but like they used the term like alt Catholics, but they were saying alt like imagine someone like covered in tattoos, kind of doing like a that almost like punk, not punk, but like
Yeah.
just a little more gritty, a little
Edgy,
more
edgy.
edgy, right?
Yeah.
That look, right? Which respect. I didn't realize that like there are communities where it was those people who have that a little bit more edge to them, right? And they don't look the part. Like, of course they're Catholic because they're
Yeah.
Catholic, but they don't look the part because they have
Yeah.
tattoos.
Yeah.
But
I have a
apparently,
bunch of
like
tattoos,
they
and
were
a guy at my
helping.
parents was also surprised, and she was like, "Did you know that in the
Yeah,
Bible
yeah,
they
yeah,
don't
yeah.
allow that?" I'm
But
like,
apparently, they were helping as far as like bringing back the tradition of veiling, right?
ah,
Like a big, like a lot of them were veiling and helped kind of
bring that
boost
back.
that tradition. I had no idea, and like I'll take this person at their word.
I mean, I think it makes
Because
sense.
I'm not in
That's
the
the
community, but
beauty.
I love veiling.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, I've been
I
veiling
mean,
since
this
the
is a
start.
great
But I mean,
segue
that's
to
like my
our
church
point.
does
This
that.
is a great segue to the Catholic like Latin Mass that I want to ask you about. But before that, I want to say
Oh
that I
dear.
think that's another example of the beautiful thing that I mean that's the thing that I recall the most from reading Orthodoxy by Chesterton is the paradox of there's so many paradoxes in Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Like from death you get life. All of these things, right? The weak are the strong. The poor are made rich. The veiling now, nice, yes. But yeah, it's
He
like
looks
this
gorgeous in a veil.
love. I mean, I do think it's a beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful symbol in itself as well. Even like the fact that like now so many women get married without a veil already for the pictures and stuff. It's like the idea. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's not a thing in America, but in Spain, it's very rarely now that I see the bride come into the church with a veil. They already just unveil. Yeah,
Really?
every single one that I've seen, and it's like, and it's
That's
such a I know
wild.
it's such a beautiful symbol, the idea of unveiling, right? But it's so common now because they want to be in all the pictures with their face on. I mean, I assume that's the
So then I
thought.
feel like the bird cage veil, like
Yeah,
that
things like
mesh
not even
one.
that. Sometimes they don't even have it because it has become just so culturally not like existent. But anyway, what
Oh
I'm
my
trying to get to,
gosh.
yeah, that really shocked you so much. But but what I'm trying to get to is the idea that yeah, that is usually the ones that seem to be furthest that come back with the strongest stuff. Like the most traditional one that I met, the ones that are actually very devout, prayerful and stuff, are people that have been very much awake because they feel the power of it. Whereas people that are just so accustomed to the emotions are the one that take it for granted. And examples even on like a cultural level, like countries like Spain, right, which is like the only Catholic empire in all history, and it was like Catholic to the core. And now you come to Spain, and it's all a beautiful bunch of beautiful churches, and they're all empty. And the people that are there, it's just like it's very rudimentary. People do communion, people do, but it's part of culture. It's not
Hmm.
part of. So that's also that you can go to China or you can go to Brazil. These countries that I mean, Brazil I guess could have more of a history, but places that are don't really have a culture, and then you see a strength of the faith. And it's that, it's just the paradox of it. It's like the first ones are the last ones, and the last ones are the first ones. So, and it doesn't
Yeah.
mean there's no change to things, but yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing of it. But yeah, so let's now segue into this very interesting part. So, when did you encounter traditional Latin mass? And yeah, I guess that's the first question.
The second mass I ever attended,
Oh wow.
ever, as an adult. Um, so I I remember before I even decided to become Catholic officially, I remember sitting at my computer and I was looking at videos or something, and for whatever reason I recall my brother mentioning that there was a Latin mass in Atlanta. I was like, cool. I don't I guess that's cool. I don't really care, but okay, cool.
Right.
Um Fast forward to my first boyfriend um after the split, and he I said I was interested in going to mass, and he was a Catholic.
Uh-huh.
um his family is still practicing. He doesn't really practice, but he said he would take me to mass. So I went to his mass first, his family's church, and I remember it was a Novus Ordo. And I
Yeah.
just distinctly recall, and this is not to say all Novus Ordo masses are like this, but I just distinctly recall bear in mind, this was my first mass that I chose to
Right,
go
right.
to
First
as an
Catholic
adult.
mass ever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I went in there and the mass is proceeding, and I remember the cantor, which I didn't know it was called a cantor, but the cantor, she starts singing and busts out this guitar
Mm.
and plays this lovely little song. And I remember thinking, should I clap?
Oh, I see.
Do no, I don't think I'm supposed to. No one else is. Okay, I'm not gonna. So I come from a theater background,
Ah.
and that's what it made me think of, was like a performance
Mm.
versus prayer. And she was singing a hymn, it should be prayer. Um,
Mm.
so I don't think I voiced a strong complaint. I think I did mention like, haha, I wasn't sure if I should clap or not, huh? But I told him I wanted to try out this Latin mass in Atlanta. He's like, okay, so we'll go. This was before my church, um, this is before the church was like built upon. So our church is very small.
Okay.
And during COVID, it just blew up because a lot of churches were closing. And our priest said, absolutely not.
Mm.
People need access to the sacraments. We are not
Nice.
closing.
And this was
And
the
nobody
Latin
came and
mass?
arrested anybody. This is the Latin
Nice,
Mass. This is an
nice,
FSSP parish, Fraternity of St. Peter.
nice.
So they are dedicated to the Latin Mass. They said, no, we are not closing.
Nice.
So people started showing up there because the
It's
church
the
was
only one
open.
open. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no more room in our church, so we started using the building behind the church, which is this gigantic, like we call it the gym, because it's just like it basically looks like an empty auditorium or an empty gym. That's where the mass was my first time going there, and I have stories about COVID church going. Remind me. So we go in there. It is a stone floor. It is folding chairs, and I didn't know this, and we didn't bring a kneeler
Yeah,
or a
there's a lot of
towel
kneeling
or
in Latin
anything.
mass. So yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't do the kneeling. I just kind of sat and just kind of
Good. Yeah.
witnessed because I'm not Catholic. I don't know what's happening, but
Yeah.
he's
Also, you
Catholic,
don't
so
have
he's
to.
gonna go.
Yeah.
Let me give you a brief description of my ex-boyfriend. He's not dead. He's like 6'2"
Yeah.
and likes to wear boots. He's like 200 plus pounds of Viking body and muscle,
He's a
whatever.
tank.
Like he's a big dude.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
He used to be very heavy also, and he lost a lot of weight.
Got it.
Which was something that we related to. Part of why we were dating. But this man, God bless him, he was kneeling and standing and kneeling and standing. This big dude. And I felt so bad.
Aw.
He one of the first things he told me afterwards was just like, we can come back here, but we're not coming here every week. And I was like, okay, respect. And actually we were approached after mass by the priest and the guy who ran the young adults group because they noticed that we were new, came and talked to us and was like inviting us to join, which was another very welcoming, beautiful thing about the
Yeah.
Catholic Church is, again, they want you to be here. We want you home. We really, really do. So yeah, I loved it. It was beautiful. I mean, I didn't really know what was going on at all, as you
Right,
generally
right.
don't for your
Yeah.
first Latin mass. It's all in Latin. And we after we broke up, I started going there.
Mm.
When I decided like I was going to go back to the inquiry class and or into the inquiry class and like learn about this, I started going to mass there. So now I'm driving an hour, and it's worth it. I'm driving an hour. I did go to the church by where I was living at the time, and
Mm.
it was
Continues to
fine.
be the same, right? It's
I
just
Yeah, like the priest was definitely like his whole heart is in it. It was a multicultural church.
Mhm.
So the priest was African and I couldn't understand him in
Oh,
English
yeah.
and I was struggle busing real bad. But he was so nice. He was so, so nice. And actually I came back to that church after a while and he recognized me and recognized that I wasn't there. Um, and I told him I was going to the other mass, and he's like, "Oh, that is
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm glad you're going. It's so beautiful." And I was like, "Thank you." um, but yeah, I fell in love with
Yeah.
that mass. I fell in love with that church. That's where everyone was veiling, and I didn't want to go in there without a veil. But I didn't have one at the time, so I bought myself a veil when I was like really serious about it, and I still have that veil. It's the veil I got baptized in. It's my favorite one. Um, yeah, there was just something so beautiful about the way the mass um, just really shows you where your focus
Hmm.
is. Um, I think my favorite thing, my absolute favorite thing, is every single time anyone enters the church, exits the church, or dares to cross in front of the tabernacle, they will stop and they will genuflect.
Hmm.
Children are stopping and genuflecting every
Yeah.
time they cross. It's not just like, oh, okay, we're doing this to get to our seats. This is what we're supposed to do. Even the priest doesn't move from that stand when he's giving his homily. But when
Mm.
he does, right,
The
sometimes
general.
a different priest than the one celebrating is giving the homily.
Yeah.
So he will approach and he will genuflect and then he will continue.
Yeah.
And when he leaves, he does the same thing. What absolutely kills me when I go to some masses is when the priest is giving a homily and he is just crisscrossing in front of the tabernacle with zero
Mm.
acknowledgement of it. And I get it. We're pausing for a minute. We're speaking to the congregation. I get it. But he's not disappeared. Like Christ is still
No.
right there. And it's just one of my serious pet peeves is watching priests do that. I don't take away from the priest. I don't think
Yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
doing it
Like he's not
because,
there in
oh,
front.
take that, you're not here. I think he is full of life and speaking
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
congregation.
He's forgetting.
What it really speaks to, yeah, exactly. What it really seems to speak to is just how the church is developed in such a way that um these little details, right? You wouldn't think
Yeah.
twice about it. I don't think anybody else in that entire church thought twice about it. It was just me cringing. And that's okay. I'll sit there in my lonely cringing. It's fine. But it's those little details
Right.
that speak so much if you know why they're done
Right.
and they're no longer done. That's the kind of
Yeah,
thing
I mean,
that I feel like
you're
got
hitting the nail
lost.
in the head. It's like he's forgetting, and the fact that the Latin Mass is really good at reminding you, right? Of reminding you of what is
Yeah,
happening, right? Of what
it's
is
so
there.
structured and
Yeah.
so, you know, one complaint I have heard, and honestly, I think it's totally fair. One complaint I heard is that for people who have issues with scruples, like you're over scrupulous, maybe
Okay.
the Latin Mass might kind of
Ah,
pick at
because of.
those. You kind of feel like, yeah, you kind of feel like you've got to do it perfect. It's got to be
Oh, I
tradition.
see.
It's
Oh,
got
I
to
see
be
what
blah
you
blah blah. You know, oh, did I need to kneel here and there? Like, oh, I did it wrong. I have to start over. Like, no, that's your scruples talking, and you need to take a deep breath from one scrupulous woman to another
mean.
scrupulous human. Um, I don't think it needs to be an issue that way, but I
Right.
can see how it can be an issue.
Yeah.
It's like
No, but
little
I
things
mean,
like that.
yeah, and I think it also speaks to different. It can speak to different stages, to different approaches to the mass and stuff. But in general, I think there's so much
Mm.
to learn from Latin mass. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, Padre Pio, like Saint. Yeah,
Hmm.
there's I haven't seen the old one yet, but I heard it's really good, very comprehensive. But there's a new one that it's a bit surreal. Like it's I don't know if it's a movie for everybody. Like some people might not like it as much, but this one with Shia LaBeouf, and but there's a beautiful scene towards the end when he's like, because Padre Pio was very devoted of the Eucharist. I mean, obviously like every saint, but like what I mean is like his masses, he will be giving mass, and maybe he will be just like perplexed by the host for like a long while. So, and Shia LaBeouf does a very good job at showing that, like just kind of, and I think that's the beauty too of the Latin Mass. I don't remember exactly what the terms another priest I was talking to about it used, but it's kind of like in the Nuevo Order, it's almost like it's a dinner, like it's like we're sitting at the Last Supper, whereas in the Latin Mass, it's like we are at Calvary. It's kind of Latin Mass is more of a
Mm.
sacrifice, which everybody's looking up to the cross, and we're seeing the lamb getting killed. Whereas Novo Order is kind of the sharing. It's more of like the aspect of everybody sitting around the altar,
Participation.
participating in the Last
Yeah.
Supper. So it's not. It has
Yeah.
it's two different aspects of Christ and two very important parts of the Eucharist, which is it's a food for the people that we all sit around a table to venerate and eat of, but it's also that food comes from the sacrificial lamb that is crucified on a cross. So I think it points to those two aspects, and that's why it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think opposition to either. It's good, like because I've also heard it from people here that go to Latin Mass that like he has also like I see why the Pope might have concern about it. I don't think his approach to it, but again, the Pope is a Pope. He knows what to do with these things. But I think his idea comes because I have seen it in groups of people that go to Latin Mass that they use it as a way to be reactionary or to like use political
Mm.
ideas behind it, especially in Spain. I mean, I haven't seen it as my in the U.S. because the U.S. doesn't have a history behind it. But Spain, we had a history of like mass like that, and then people ascribe, oh, Nuevo Order brought about this crazy culture. But I don't think it's true. I think there's different aspects that came about together at the same time. People are like, oh, because of Second Vatican Council, the church is falling apart. It's like I think it's
There
much
was
more
so
complex.
much going on.
So, but
Yeah,
but, but what
you
I'm
have to
right.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to understand the time period and
yeah,
things changing at the same time that caused so many. The 60s
yeah,
were just
yeah,
bad. They were
yeah.
just
Just
straight
bad.
up bad. Just you will not convince me otherwise. The 60s were bad. The best thing that came out of the 60s were my parents. That's it. That's all you get, 60s. My parents. No, it was a bad time in
Yeah,
American
I mean, just
history, and
in
having
general,
these
yeah, in the
changes,
world, yeah,
yeah, because I like the participatory elements of the Novus Ordo.
yeah,
I
yeah,
do. I've
and
gone
it's
to
very
Novus
more
Ordo masses
didactic as
with my
well. Yeah.
yeah, I've gone to these masses. Generally, I've gone with friends,
Hmm.
and like I have been moved to tears, like in
Hmm.
the mass. And I don't know if it's just because my friends were there, and I just really
Uh,
felt that community, which is I
uh,
think is
nice.
part of what it wants to draw from you and to remind you you are not
Yeah,
alone.
right.
You are with the church and you are with Christ. But I still get that from the Latin mass.
No,
It may
yeah.
not be because I'm literally shaking my neighbor's hand, but I am I in every quiet moment, I am looking up at
Yeah.
Christ's
And
face.
everybody
Every
is,
quiet
and in
moment.
that sense too, that
Everyone
builds
is.
that community. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the
Even the
priest has
priest.
the
Yeah,
responsibility of the celebration, and he's doing it for us. So together we get to sit in our prayer and let him lead us
yeah.
up Calvary. We don't have to do that part. We get to just
Uh,
with no effort of our own except our own
the
prayerfulness and
graceful.
our faith in Christ, we get to participate. We
Yeah,
get to participate. We don't have to do more. Like
yeah,
I don't need to do more.
yeah. That's
But
beautiful.
I do understand the participatory element. I do understand the vernacular even.
Right.
Um and it my only concern or rather I suppose my big concern that I might even voice about the vernacular even is
Uh-huh.
I think if part of the reason that changes happened was because people weren't paying attention anymore,
Mm,
people were like praying their own rosaries or something during mass, if that is the issue,
yeah,
then I think the focus needed to be the catechesis, not
yeah.
another way to pay less attention, right? Like if
Mm.
it's English, you can just kind of let it wash over you. You know the words, it
Yeah,
becomes
you do
that
just say
mundane
it.
you were talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. You do
Yeah.
just say
It
it. Yeah,
becomes that routine
yeah.
versus, well, if Latin is difficult for you, good.
Mm.
you pay attention. You look at the
Because you
English side
have
of the
to.
English Latin
Yeah.
missal and you watch and you learn versus changing it all to make it simpler. But I
Mm.
appreciate wanting to make it more accessible. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I think the further consequences that may not have been expected are now in our faces as a problem.
Yeah.
And it's hard to address them when it's been 50 years and now we're just like, well, this is how it goes. So let's just get rid of the Latin Mass instead
Nah,
because this
yeah,
is
that's
how it
just
goes now. That is still really sore for me.
no, yeah.
Is Traditionis
I
Custodes
just
is
think the
still a
idea of
very sore point.
the idea of getting rid of anything is always bad. Like that's why I also saw like the other point that I see is like, oh, we gotta go back to Latin Mass and get rid of the novel. It's like no, it's just you just gotta kind of have both and then learn from both and then and again and let people decide. Again, we go back to the whole libertarian thing. It's like
Let it
just
naturally.
yeah, let it
Mhm.
naturally. If there are priests that naturally like diverse to Latin mass, there will be faithful that diverse to, and then they'll have their Latin mass, and that's fine. And it's like, and let things play out as they should. And it's like what you say, like it does. It's like there's no way to, yeah, you cannot force people to pay attention. You cannot. There's no mechanism that makes them pay attention. And even the challenge, it's not an issue exactly, and it shows in our generation going more towards that but I think, and again, I think it came with a lot of advantages as well, which is like for me, like what I love about mass is the fact that it is that I am a participant that is a didactic thing. You know what I'm saying? So when I've been to the Latin mass, to me it's more of that. It's like I'm there in the sacrificial on the sacrifice of the lamb, and I'm paying attention. It's more of a ritual. Whereas when I go to church, it seems more of a like when I go to Novo Order, it just seems more of a school in some sense as well, like kind of
Mm.
like a synagogue at the same time. Like I'm reading from the like this readings, and then there's the homie, and everything kind of centers in putting you in place. There's the liturgy of the word, and there's the liturgy of the Eucharist, and it's like kind of this. Yeah, it's like again we go back. It's kind of like a Last Supper. We sit down, we hear from the master, and then after that we all eat together, and then we pray for things that we need. It's just like the structure of it. I really like it, but and even the fact that it's in the language that I can understand, so it makes it easy for me to just show up there, and there's no extra effort in that. But again, but it's always if you don't want to, you find the crevices. So you find the crevices in the Latin mass to not pay attention, and you find the crevices in the
Hmm.
Novo Order to not pay attention. But again, I think the
Hmm.
fact that we have both is great. It's just yeah, let's not get rid of either. But yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the beautiful things about the Catholic Church, and my brother and I talk about this all the time, is just how slowly the church changes, but then how quickly this particular change came about. I think that's
Yeah,
the real reason that things
yeah,
are just so
yeah.
shaky,
Good point.
uh, because it was just so sudden.
Mm.
10 years, yes, that is sudden in the
Yeah, yeah,
2000 years of the
2000, yeah.
church, right? To just suddenly have this thing and be like, this is the way, right? People are going to push back
Hmm.
because it is so abrupt of a change.
Yeah.
I think the church, just like right, one of the other arguments you might say for the Novus Ordo and how it's done in certain ways is that well, the mass used to be very similar to that once upon a time. Like apparently, it was not so dissimilar to
Mm.
how the Novus Ordo is now.
Oh.
Apparently, I don't know. I don't have the
I mean, it would
documents
make
myself,
sense too that it was
but
in Latin at the beginning, right?
right. And then but then over time, right? Over time it became
uh,
the traditional Latin mass. And I wouldn't be surprised if over time, even as the Latin mass, right, if little things adjusted
mm,
for whatever
right,
reason.
right,
But
right.
it's got to take the time.
Yeah,
It's got to be a natural progression of change or
yeah.
you're going to end up where we are now.
Which is conflict. Yeah,
This
that
is what
makes sense.
happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at other rites in Catholic, like the Coptic rite or the Byzantine rite and all this, they are
Hmm.
fine. Nobody's arguing about them because nobody
Hmm.
made a huge change all of a sudden. It's the Roman one that has had this quick shift. So yeah, I mean, it is a whole mess. I think it's like it shows, but again, that's also the thing that I think people forget is that the church is a reflection. I mean, it's us, so it's a reflection of the culture and stuff. So it's like that's why it's like to think that Novus Ordo was the cause for all that stuff. It's more of the consequence in some sense. Like it was a very
Hmm.
fast changing world with a lot of fast changing ideas, with people coming to, and then they it translated into a lot of bishops all coming together in one council and then being like, okay, how do we make something that works for everybody in this very changing, diverse world? And then again, moving too quickly with the world, or maybe not too quickly. Like again, the beautiful thing too about the church that gives me confidence is like since it's the bride of Christ, It's like, sure, I mean, there's ups and downs, but at the end of the day, Christ takes care of it. So if this is how it has
Yes.
to be, the same way when people
Yes.
complain about this pope or this other pope, it's like, I might align more with the pope or not, but it's the pope, and that's the beauty of it. It's like, I don't have to really worry about it because that's just gonna be fixed by God in its way. So one pope is gonna be
Yes.
one way or another. This changes in the church, they can be right or wrong, but it doesn't. There's no point in me judging it. Like the same way Saint Paul says, like there's no point in judging your other people to judging yourself because you just don't know. Like you just don't know enough. So the beauty is just to do that.
But
Like, oh, sorry.
yeah. No, and I was going to say that also ties back kind of into the libertarian
Yes.
concept of like, right? Like they're doing all that stuff up there. What are you worried about? Be worried about you. Be
Yeah.
worried about your family.
Yeah.
Start there. Start at
Right.
home, right? Are you teaching your children who God is,
Yeah.
the three in one? Are you showing them the mysteries? Are you
Yeah.
praying with your children? Are you teaching them how to pray?
Yeah.
Are you teaching them from the Bible? Focus at home,
Yeah.
take them to church, right? And if you need to travel, right? A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, you shouldn't go church hopping, make the changes in your church." Of course you're going to go church hopping.
Yeah.
Find a church that makes you feel like you are comfortable in that church.
Yeah.
So, find the church that you love. Take your family there. Even if you have to travel an hour. I used to travel an hour.
Yeah.
Worth it. And then I ended up moving I moved to an apartment that was the basement, a basement apartment of one of the parishioners at my church. And I lived there for 2 years until a miraculous turn of events that wound up with me buying my first home. And I'm literally now walking distance from my church. I
Hey,
am
nice.
walking distance from the Latin Mass, and it is
Oh,
like
nice.
the
That's a
best thing
blessing.
ever.
Yeah.
It is so
Oh.
exciting. But like you're gonna do what works for you, what works for
Mm-hmm.
your family, and there's no sense in having
Yep.
liturgy wars per se. Not for me, right? That's not my battle. That's not going to be my crusade. My crusade is going to
Yeah.
be in my home with my family, with my children and my husband. I'm going to make sure he's taken care of. I'm going to make sure he's happy, he's at peace, and he's going to make sure that I'm protected, I am cherished, I am taken care of, our children are taken care of. And I'm going to handle the rest of the household. He's going to go out and take care of things, and I'm going to handle things at home. He's going to come home, we're going to be together with our family, da da da, right? Like
Yeah.
we have
Yeah,
our
that's
whole
already a lot.
crusade
That's already
right
a lot. Yeah,
here. That's
exactly.
that is a lot. If you think about what like me being home with my kids, that's a whole day. That's a whole work day.
Right. That's the
um,
beauty that I've come to realize. It's like there's so many
yeah,
issues
but
already at
that's
home. Like, why are you worrying about what the
yes,
Pope is doing or what the president is doing
yes.
even? Like, yeah.
Fight at home.
Yeah.
Make your fight in your communities. That's where it belongs. And if you want to become a priest and become a
Yeah, yeah,
bishop and
yeah.
become a cardinal, go for it. That is now your fight. Right now, that's not our fight.
Yeah.
But support, right? Like, vote with your dollars, support with your feet. Like, if
Yep.
you believe that the mass needs to stay as it
Then you
is
go to the
and
Latin
you
Mass. Yeah,
love
yeah,
the
there you go.
go. If
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
found a church you are so in love with, go.
Yeah.
Just
I love it. I
go.
love this
Right?
society because I align so much with it politically because it's exactly that. The world would be so much better because it's even in the Catholic Church, like what you just said about the priest too. Even the Catholic Church is so beautiful and the faith itself because it doesn't even allow for that type of mechanism, you know? It's like if you, like, you, it doesn't even allow you to have a career towards being a pope. Because to be a pope, you first just want to be a priest, and then you get elected to
Hmm.
be a bishop, and then a bishop gets elected to be a cardinal. It's also upside down that unless you're focusing on the fight that you have at home, you never get to be a pope. Like whoever wants to be a pope is never gonna get there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
Mm-mm.
always chosen the one that doesn't want to be. So that's the beauty of it too. It's like even the structure of the Catholic Church is teaching you like to be a libertarian, to be like stop trying to be in charge, stop trying
The
to.
number of people, it's so funny because sometimes our head pastor will like take these jabs at libertarianism like twice a year. I'll hear it in his homily. I'm like, "Oh, Father, why?"
He doesn't understand.
But yeah, and honestly that's okay, right? I
Nah, of
feel
course,
that's going
of
to
course.
be one of those slow changes, right? Because
Yeah.
of social media and because of how loud libertarians can be, and believe me, because I used to be a really loud obnoxious libertarian, but how loud they can be and how loud we can be about like I have the right to do blah blah blah. Like that's great. You have the right to walk around naked if you want to, but nobody wants to see that. And please
Yeah.
have some sense and put your clothes on. Like, come on, right?
Mm,
You have right. One of the things that, funnily enough, right, one of the issues that clinched for me that I was like,
mm,
no, libertarianism makes sense was actually the abortion issue,
mm.
infanticide. Um, I I was like, yeah, I don't even remember exactly what the mindset was, but
Right.
something in my head clicked, and I was like, this is obviously evil. People should not be like
Yeah, it really clicks
paid. This should
very
not be a
easily to
normal
me too.
thing.
But yeah,
Free somehow that worked, but in
yeah.
my
Somehow it clicked.
in conversations and in readings, right? Like technically, I think um per technically
Yeah.
libertarian
Right,
theory,
you would be like, let them kill.
infanticide is technically allowed because technically it's her body and technically it's like whatever rule, blah blah blah. I don't care. Libertarianism alone is solely focused on the just use of force. Does someone have the right to
Yeah.
do something to you, to them, whatever?
Mhm.
That's why it doesn't stand alone, right? It's not that it doesn't
Yep,
work, it's
yep,
that it doesn't work alone.
yep.
It's understanding human rights with a foundation of Christ gave you everything.
Yep, yep.
God gave you everything, including your life. Your life is a gift. That's why no one can
Yeah.
impede upon it. It's a
Mm,
gift from God, right? They
mhm.
have to go hand in hand, or else it doesn't work.
Yep.
It just doesn't
Even
work.
from a materialistic perspective, this I mean, a great philosopher here, Gustavo Bueno, is like a Spanish philosopher. He's a materialist, like basically just the idea of the world just being the world. There's no outside force. There's no God. There's anything. But like
Mm-hmm.
he has a very well founded perspective in that sense. And the idea of rights, like the idea of that, which is true that libertarianism or even anarcho-capitalism is based on a series of norms. Now, it minimizes the norms so that it allows for freedom, but to allow that freedom, you gotta control the ability of somebody else to attend against that, to attack that freedom, right? So yeah, it's from his perspective, what he's saying is like there's no rights because if you look at it from there's no God, right? Gives you an inalienable rights, so however you pronounce that, inalienable rights or whatever,
Inalienable.
inalienable rights. Then the only thing that gives you the rights is the government, is the nation, which ultimately is like even if the nation is Christian, then that enforces those rights that they believe to be from divine. But what I'm trying to get to is what,
Protects, I
yeah, to
guess.
protect. Yeah, but like what I'm saying is that the idea that because I am born a human, I'm like, oh, I have the right for property. It's like if you look at it from a materialistic perspective, again, without God, you don't. The stronger guy takes whatever he needs. So exactly, that's why a libertarian perspective is great when it's supported by something. Now it can be supported by a materialistic approach, which in itself also needs to be supported by something, because if not, it turns into why should I protect the right of the
Mm-hmm.
weak?
Very
So
nihilistic.
exactly. So the only reason it would work is if you have a foundation that is based in God, and then you take the standoffish approach of being nihilist about it, but you still benefiting from it. So that's why I also find it funny the materialists, because they love to explain everything in mechanisms, but then they're like the why just blows over their head, because like
Yeah.
why should we maintain this mechanism if it's just a mechanism that is working on itself? And it's like
Yeah.
it's just like this big trick that we're like, oh yeah, no, I know the Catholicism and faith is a magic trick, but I'm gonna keep playing the trick. I'm like, then you already crazy then, because I'm saying that it's true. You're saying that it's a trick, but you're gonna keep playing the trick anyway.
But you like it for some
Yeah,
reason. You like
exactly.
the benefits of, morality. You
Yes.
and that's one of the things I was talking to my priest about initially. So I told him, I was like, you know, I'm interested in Catholicism. Like it
Mhm.
feels better than what's happening out
Right.
there. And he told me very specifically, he's like, don't choose to convert because you're running away
Right.
from something else. Don't do that. And I was like, oh, of course I'm not. Of course I'm not. And I left there thinking like,
I maybe am.
oh, oh
Low
no, I
key.
totally am. No, totally. He's absolutely right. Because it's when you start to see what's really beautiful and good and true, things like modesty, things like, I keep jumping back to like modesty and chastity. Those are just like clued in
Yeah.
my head. But because they're just so out there, right? The concept that sex sells is just so inundated in the
Yeah.
world that it's
Yeah.
just the first thing. But when you start to see those things and you compare the happiness of
Yeah.
a family going to church,
Yeah.
even with the crying baby and whatever, that
Nah,
family,
yeah.
and then the I can only speak from a female perspective, so I will. The woman who's out there whose goal is to
Yeah.
just, pardon
Crush
me,
it.
increase her
Yeah.
notch count,
Yeah. Oh, well,
like
yeah. Even if we talk from that, yeah, yeah.
like if that's her goal, like is she happy? I
Yeah.
highly doubt it. I highly doubt
Also,
that
once
she's
you
like,
start to
this is
analyze
so
it,
exciting.
it's like, what's the point? And again, now it's
Yeah.
talking from a guy's perspective, but it's because even from a guy, even it's even more accepted or encouraged from a guy's perspective. Because a woman,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's already faded a lot, and I'm not saying it was even well founded before, because if it wasn't for the right reasons, it didn't matter to be like, oh, women should sleep with no men, but men should sleep with many women. Even that perspective, which is
Right.
very 60s or whatever, like, or even 50s, but like the whole thing just falls on its face because it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
for men and women it's absurd. And again, so what you're saying, it doesn't make them happy. I have a friend actually that I revisited now coming back, and he's like, I remember from high school and stuff, and he was like, he wasn't even like that, and he still isn't like that great. Like he's not like a super Schwab guy or whatever, but he's obsessed with getting girls, like obsessed. Like, I'm saying, like he's been in a relationship, he's cheated on her girl, and then got out, they kind of figured it out, and be like, no, I'm not gonna do it again. But then he's even without doing it, like without cheating and stuff, he's just still kind of staying in one relationship because he's just, and then when he's out of that relationship, he enters another one. Like what I'm trying to say is like he's obsessed with the idea of girls in general. You know what I'm saying? And I see him this constant chasing, this constant trying to look apart, and like it's like not only is this already I mean, even though he doesn't know in some extent or he doesn't want to admit it or whatever, I see how painful it is without him realizing. And I only want that thing that I'm like, when you get older, it's gonna get even more painful because it's like it's easier to do this game when you're younger, but you're gonna just
Yeah.
continue to get older and more
I
lonely, and you
know.
have no idea how to handle that type of relationship. It's already hard for me in this world that is so like that to find that family that I also look for. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
already hard. I'm like, but if you're
It
not
is.
even
It
looking,
so is.
if you're not even looking, it's like you just, it's kind of like this thing that I realize more and more. It's like when you get closer to the truth, is you kind of start to feel this sense for other people, but it's not like pity, because it's not like that at all. Like I don't feel like I'm looking down at all, because I've been in a worse position or in a similar position, but just the idea
Mm-hmm.
that I'm like, you keep continuing down a road that I already kind of turned away from. I'm not fully saved or anything like that, but I turn away from it. So I know that if you keep going down that road, it's just gonna get harder and harder to come
You're
back
just
from it.
digging the pit so
Yeah.
much deeper, and it just gets harder and harder every day. It's so
Mm.
true. Yeah, like that is not, but what's beautiful is, like you said, when you do discover the truth and you
Mm.
discover what the truth is telling you and how you can behave to have true happiness, and you see other people not doing it, all you want to do is just like grab them by the shoulders and just shake them, and you can't. But what you
Yeah.
can do is you elevate your own
Yeah.
standards,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You and don't budge, right? There are
Mm.
some things, right? Here's your quick dating 101, have fun, right? There are some things that are compromise, right?
Yeah.
You're two different human beings looking for your vocation in marriage, right?
Yeah.
But there are some things that you just should not compromise,
Yeah.
especially like as a woman. One of those things should be like, this man needs to love God, preferably that he's Catholic and he loves God. And
Yeah.
he needs to be able to take care of you, right? That's not oh, I'm going to sit back and just
No,
let
right,
him
right.
work and I'm going to lounge around all day. Like, no, you have your own responsibilities. He has his, and you do
Yeah.
them together, right?
Mm.
But whatever your other standards are, he needs to love God and he needs to be a leader in your home, right? And you need to find him attractive. Let's just be honest. You
I
need to
mean,
find
yeah,
him
because
attractive.
I mean, that
Oh,
even isn't a requirement, because that whole thing doesn't even start. Like, why would you even talk to
it
him,
doesn't work
right?
if you don't find him attractive,
Exactly.
personality wise and physically. But, you know, you don't question your standards. Don't
Hmm.
let people tell you, oh,
That's
your
a good
standards
point.
are too
Yeah.
high. That's why you're alone. Like, no, I am waiting for someone that God has made available to me. That's why I'm still alone,
Also, it's
because
not even
I'm
high.
not going to lower those standards.
That's why the dimension is not even vertical anymore. Like, it's not like there's a scale. It's like a complete like open space. So it's like like standards are not high. It's just specific. I mean, I like to what extent, but it says like there are things that, like what you're saying, they just don't want to negotiate as much because they are the foundation of so
Mhm.
much more. And it's like that's something that I actually didn't pay as much attention earlier in my life. I mean, also because I was more away from from the faith and stuff. But it's so true.
Hmm.
It's like, and I used to think, because it's like it is this kind of this false premise that a lot of like the things that the devil proposes in some sense are like a false premise that is based on some truth. It's kind of the idea of like, oh, love is strong enough,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter if the other person is like completely
Love is
different.
love is love.
Right, love is love is love. And it's like, okay, in like in itself, isolated, it sounds right. It's like, yeah, well, if you love a person enough, why would it matter that they don't believe, they don't have the same beliefs, they have a completely different approach to love or understanding?
Love is
Why
an
would it matter?
action.
Love is, but it's yeah, because it actually requires a cooperation. So you kind of just cooperate on love with a person that doesn't even think of love in the same way, or think of a relationship in the same way, or of God, like what you're saying.
Yep.
So yeah, so
Yep.
that's why it's like it's yeah, that's why it's not even like yeah requirements or anything. So you just gotta be speaking the same language.
Yeah.
It's
There
like
are certain things. And I was with my previous ex, um, like in all other ways I felt like we had, I mean I was wrong, but in all other ways I felt like we had a really good relationship. Like I was attracted to this man.
right.
But what it always came back to was
Mm.
I was looking into my faith. And
Mm.
it wasn't even right. This is that scary kind of middle ground where
Okay.
he was never saying, no, I
Right.
hate that you want to be Catholic. He never said that. He was 100% supportive of it. Like, absolutely. Like, hey, I'll talk to you after your class. Like, cool. The
Mm.
problem was the support didn't reach him. He was not interested in becoming Catholic. He was not
Mm.
interested in what that meant to me to become Catholic.
Yeah.
That meant I could not trust him with keeping my faith, with our kids' faith, like whatever that
Yeah.
would be. I
Yeah.
could not trust him with that.
Mm.
Um, and it was kind of part of that conversation that led to other things. I'm like, I'm clearly ignoring some flags here. But like that's what it comes down to. Certainly for me, right?
Yeah.
What's most important to me, especially almost 4 years in, is not whether or not he is going to um like help me maintain my faith, but that is important too. I shouldn't say it like that because I do
Right.
need,
Right.
you just need
I
that
mean,
support
it's a
always.
yeah,
But
it's a
I am
cooperation. Yeah.
confident in my faith. Yeah, I'm confident in my faith. I can be confident in his or whatever it is he wants to do. But what I am constantly thinking of when it comes to faith is
The
my
kids.
children.
Yeah, the kids.
Children
Yeah.
are going to learn from their parents. And
Yeah.
I grew up in a household where one parent was religious and one was not.
Mm-hmm.
And I wound up
Yeah.
not
It creates a lot
religious.
of
And
conflicts. Yeah.
it's a very common story. I do not want that. If I can avoid it, I don't want that for my
Mm-hmm.
children. So I don't know what it would take. I honestly don't know what it would
Yeah.
take to meet someone who is not Catholic and be like, yeah, I could choose you for the vocation of marriage. Um, I am very interested in meeting a Catholic man, and letting and letting that one additional responsibility off of my shoulders,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it just
Because
makes it
we're
so
gonna
much
share that
easier. Yeah.
burden.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually statistically, it makes sense, and I love that because statistically it makes sense that
Okay.
more often than not, if the father is Catholic and the mother were not, the kids are more likely to stay in the faith.
Hmm.
Reverse it, and the kids
I
are
didn't
more
know that.
likely to leave the faith.
Oh, I didn't know. Maybe that's why we love. Because my
Yeah,
father isn't Catholic and my mother is. Well, I mean, he
yeah.
pretended to
My
be.
my
So I guess
mom
that's what
was
kind of
Jewish.
made
My
us
dad was not.
pretend for a while. But yeah,
Yeah,
like what was I
not
gonna say
religious
with
rather.
that? But yeah, the thing that I think it's like the hard part is like kind of the devil always like it always feels like it's so unattainable. Not always, but I'm saying that's where
Mm.
it just feels like it's hard. Like it's like how do I find a person, right, that would be as interested in the Catholic faith? Because I mean, I can relate to what you were saying about like the latest test that I had, like here in Spain, actually shortly after I got back. She was like kind of like what you're saying about this, like she wasn't against Catholicism. She was actually her father would go to like processions and stuff, and like like he was part of a confraternity or something, whatever it's called in English, and she'd start, but like I think, yeah, she just wasn't as interested in the faith in that sense. She was just like to her it was like a secondary thing. She was more interested in like I guess worldly things. It's like when you actually had to live out the faith, it actually scared her in some sense. Like I was like, I try to trust God and stuff, like to do work and stuff, but like it's just I'm not so concerned with the anxiety that like she felt specifically. She was a very anxious person, but like in general, like what I see a lot is that a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm Catholic or I'm Christian, but they struggle to actually live it out, like live out what it says, and actually try to.
It's hard.
And it is hard. I find it hard,
Yeah,
but like
it's
I
hard.
don't live it out. I'm not saying I do, but I try to. But there's people that are not even interested in trying to. but they still
Yeah.
kind of want to do the little like play. So
Yeah.
so
But
that's
but
yeah.
it is I promise if it is meant if that is what
Nah,
God feels is your call, and I know it always sounds so cheesy, but from one singleton to
yeah.
another whoever's watching, I promise you that if God has this lined up for
Yeah.
you, if there is, and I don't even believe in a single soulmate. I don't believe in that.
Mm.
Um
Nah,
Love
that
is a
doesn't make
choice
sense.
that you
Yeah.
make, right? There are many people in this world that you could choose to love.
Mhm.
Um, if that is your vocation, if that is God's calling for you, that is what He wants for you and that person to reach heaven, and the best way to do that is together, it's going to happen, right? One of the things that I had to let go of, um, and I am a control freak like nobody's business, but one of the things I had to let go of was trying to literally script my own life. That's what
Yeah.
happened with my marriage. I was following a script. I was literally following a script. It was
Mm.
meet the guy likes you,
Yeah.
perfect, we're dating.
Yeah.
What's the
Same.
next step? Get engaged. What's the next step? Right? Without any of the
Discernment.
actual meat behind it, any of the actual depth of a relationship.
Right.
And that's on both of us, right? Neither of us were prepared. Neither of us really had just like a fantastic idea in our minds of what that meant.
Mm.
So it's important to, use the time to learn what it means to be in a relationship. Look at those role models and those families. Read Proverbs 31, ladies. Just learn what it is that you need to do to be the best version of you to
Yeah.
give to someone else so that you both can give each other your best
Yeah.
and get yourselves to heaven together and your children. I pray you have many, many children. Get them to heaven. That's the important part.
Yeah.
Because I've been through the ringer of the ridiculous apps. We've gone through it. And I have met some fantastic people, and I have met some folks,
Yeah.
boy,
Just
oh.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay. I've recently met someone who is like honestly super duper great. But we'll see. But point is, point is, I regardless of who I meet and when,
Yeah.
I can always when I come down from any upset or any high or whatever it is, it comes back to I am a Catholic. I'm a Catholic woman. I know what it is. I firmly believe I am being called to, and that
Mm.
makes it worth it. That makes every moment of frustration, every moment of excitement worth it because this is not just a following the script anymore.
Yeah.
That's what gives me the confidence. I'm not following a script. I am seeking, I am discerning.
Nice.
That's what we need to be doing. And
That's
it
great.
feels so much better.
Yeah, and I needed to
When
hear
you
that too,
know,
because it really is what stops everything. It really is the fear. Like that's what made me script things. It was like I have to script it. If not, I'm never gonna find that. But it's like
exactly.
it's exactly what you're saying, which is to seek instead of to script, which is to be like, I know I'm gonna get there. Like I know God is gonna provide for this. If it is, and it's even that. It's like you don't even need to ponder about it, because it's like if it is what God wants for you, then He will provide for it. All you gotta be is open to it, and that's it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and just follow your heart, obviously, and stuff, like, have discernment and stuff. But yeah, it's the fear of like, oh, this is not, what if God doesn't have this in store for me, or even in a lower level than, like, without even considering God, what if I don't build this for myself and like snatch a girl out of the street and make her my wife, then I'm never gonna get it. It's like that. I mean, and that was a struggle I had, and I continue to still kind of fight against that momentum of like thinking that I have to like create that whole thing. And then what I'm learning is to let it go, because I mean, if I got him into a lot of messes because of trying to script it. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is a
Yeah.
good point to. I mean, it's just a challenging conversation. I just realized we're almost at the 2 hour mark. But yeah, I think we covered a lot. So it's just really nice.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this too. It's like I have so many things that I wanted to talk to you about, and without having to script it. Again, we talked about pretty much all the major things. We talked about Latin Mass. We talked about libertarianism. We talked about your conversion to Catholicism. We talked about your origin in Judaism. We talked about women in the internet and what it means, and women in life. And we talked about relationships ultimately. And this was a
Those are my favorite
beautiful,
conversations,
great
honestly.
conversation. Yeah, this was great. I mean, we definitely need a part two. We need a part two with pretty much every guest. This is great.
Yes, part two.
But first, we
I'm
gotta get your
ready.
brother. Let's pressure
Oh
your
yeah,
brother into
yeah, yeah.
finding some
Bro,
time.
you're next.
Not right now, though, please.
No, not right now. He has to go to
No.
sleep.
But no, we'll definitely find the time and such. I also have him working for me as a Latin speaker, so I don't wanna pressure him with too
Oh.
much. But yeah, he's
Oh, he
already
wants
there.
to. It's fine.
I know. But all right, well, thank you everybody that is watching this on YouTube. If you enjoyed the comment, sorry, if you enjoyed the video, please press like and share it with other people if you wanted to see it as well. And let us know in the comments what you thought and show us some love. And yeah, thank you very much, and God bless you.